Hey, what's up? I'm Jason Howell, and I am here with the LG Lucid. It runs on Verizon's 4G network. Now, you might think that everybody would like to have the extra money to afford a top-of-the-line Android phone. It's not always the case, and that is exactly where the LG Lucid shines. Let's take a look. It's a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, has 1 gig of RAM. It's a 4-inch IPS display with Gorilla Glass. It has a 5-megapixel rear-facing camera on the back, as well as an LED flash for the camera, and it is capable of recording 1080p HD video. And on the front, you have a 0.3 megapixel front-facing camera. Under the flap, we have a 1700 milliamp hour removable battery, as well as a micro SD card slot. As well, you have DLNA for wireless sharing of your media. And finally, it comes with gingerbread. Ice cream sandwich is confirmed to arrive sometime in the future. Now let's take a look at the design. It actually feels pretty solid in the hand, considering it's almost entirely plastic. It doesn't really feel hollow when you tap it and tap on the back. It's very sturdy. It has a deep purple and black gradient that you can see on the back. You really see it out in the sunlight, and it actually gives the phone some unique character. And throughout, you see these rounded edges on the phone that really makes it comfortable in the hand as well as in the pocket. Overall, I actually enjoyed how compact and solid this phone felt over time. Now let's take a look at the screen. It's a 4-inch screen. It has 480 by 800 resolution. I would say that that's pretty acceptable for a phone of this class. The screen gets very bright. Overall, I'd say I was pretty satisfied with the screen. It's not obviously as high definition as something like a Galaxy Nexus, but it's perfectly acceptable. Now let's take a look at the camera. The rear-facing camera actually takes great pictures if you have sufficient light. And you kind of have to give yourself some extra time to focus because it can operate slowly at times. There is no image stabilization with the camera here, and that goes for the video as well, which records at 1080p. The video looks pretty good, though there were some images with very fine details that tended to break up a little bit during my playing around with the device. Now, as for the front-facing camera, the quality is pretty poor. You certainly can't expect a whole lot with 0.3 megapixels. It's VGA quality, but considering the price for the phone, I really didn't expect much. Now onto performance. Overall, I really felt that things moved pretty snappy with this device. I mean, it has a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz processor, and these specs were considered top of the line not even 8 months ago. So you're really getting good bang for your buck. Web browsing was pretty nice and pretty fast through my use of it. The one thing that I actually noticed a little bit of slowdown were things like gaming. All right, now the calls that I made on the phone were actually pretty loud and mostly clear. I didn't really have any issues understanding the people on the other side. And the speakerphone was reasonably loud, though not always as clear as I'd like. But overall, I think this phone makes pretty good calls. I'd say the battery life on the LG Lucid is pretty respectable. On 3G only, I got through every day without total depletion, and that's with Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram syncing on a regular basis. I spent about a half a day in San Francisco with 4G, and at the end of that, my battery was still about half full by the time I left. Okay, so let's take a look at the software. One thing about this phone is there is so much bloatware. There's just so much stuff crammed into here. And the app drawer really tries to make things easier with predetermined categories, but it actually ends up making everything just a little bit more difficult to find. It also has gesture controls built in, but with my experience, they were very iffy. They'd work sometimes, they wouldn't work perfectly the next. And finally, there are power management settings that allow you to make your phone just a little bit smarter when it comes to your battery. That's the LG Lucid. Now let's take a look at the pros of the device. It's comfortable, it has a very durable design. It has zippy performance for most tasks, and it's a low-cost access to Verizon's LTE network. Now the cons. It launches with gingerbread. Camera performance is definitely hit or miss. And finally, LG's skin promises much more than it delivers. Overall, if you're looking for an Android device in the mid-range price point, you'd be hard-pressed to find much better than the LG Lucid. I absolutely recommend it as a buy. You can catch reviews by me on another show I do on the Twit Network, All About Android, at twit.tv/AAA. Otherwise, thank you for checking out my review of the LG Lucid. What do you call this? Silent lucidity. Sorry.